Welcome everybody to the 8th episode of Pointers with the Pros. My name's Jeff Jenkins.
And I'm Kaylin Starr, and today we are wrapping things up with Charles Burton, who is the owner of Most Media Blasting. Now, he's been featured on the last 2 episodes, so if you haven't seen those, make sure to check those out now. But let's just dive right into the last few topics that we went back and forth with via email with Charles. And so here are the topics and tips that he is leaving for our viewers. So one thing that he wanted to mention was some of the challenges that he's overcome. And so this is one of his tips, was how to really control the customer. So let's just say you have a difficult customer who is, just really hesitant during the job. He's standing over you. He is being really difficult as the job goes on. I'm going to read what Charles had to say, and then you and I can talk about it a little bit more. But Charles said, there is a learning curve when dealing with people, and we need to know when a guy is going to be so difficult of a customer so that we don't get consumed by that guy who will never be happy. It's hard to pick them out during the estimating process, but once you're on site, it's super easy. Learning to control the customer is a skill that has taken me years to figure out. There are still times in mid-project that we have fired clients and cut our losses. So Jeff, what are some strategies that we can give people when it comes to managing or dealing with a difficult client?
And not necessarily controlling the client, but more guiding the client. One thing that's really important here is contracts. If you're going to do something for a customer, you're going to want to make sure that it's down in writing. If they want their house done, what do you mean by their house done? Is that just the brick, or is that brick sidewalk? Is there railing somewhere that you need to do? You need to make sure everything the customer expects is in writing and on paper. That way, if anything pops up, it's going to be a little bit of a surcharge. So just cover yourself with a contract and have it in writing.
I think another thing is communication, right? Yeah. So in the beginning, really getting to know your client, sending them maybe photos of jobs that are similar to the one you're about to take on. So maybe there's a little bit of trust building there, like, hey, I've done this before. Here is some of my work that I've done, so you don't have to stand over me. I'm gonna take care of your house or whatever it is they're blasting. I definitely think communication going into it is key, but like Charles said, sometimes clients are so difficult that you have to cut your losses if you can't
just walk away.
Yeah, stay in communication or guide them through it. The next thing I asked Charles was, what are some common mistakes he's seen out there from other blasters? And he said that he would really like to help people avoid making mistakes when it comes to pressure, using the wrong media, warping cards is a big one. He said PSI and angle is key, and don't get impatient. The other big one is maintenance. Do it, live it, and document it. So there's a lot to unpack here. So let's just talk about the pressure and using the wrong media. What can that do? Why is that a mistake? What advice do you have?
You really have to do your test blast, so that's why we always harp on that, doing the test blast. Now, if you just go into a project and you're like, oh, my tank's already full of garnet, I'll just tackle this wood with some garnet. It's not gonna work out too pretty. Make sure you're on top of what you're bringing to a job site. Make sure you do test blasts, and everything will turn out all right, and you'll minimize your mistakes.
And I think he talked about, patience, and that's huge, because we always say it's better to start off on too low of a pressure than to go in with your pressure cranked all the way up and you're just going at the surface. So if you're unsure, wouldn't we recommend, if you're unsure, you don't know what media to use, you don't know what pressure, do a test blast and start with the lowest pressure, start with maybe the less aggressive media, and then work your way up from there to figure out what's best for this project that you're on.
And another thing that kind of comes up is guys encounter jobs where they're not able to get to the job site until the day they have to do it. So what we recommend is, if you're blasting a plane or blasting like some sort of steel, just see if you can source that material and test it out on your own site. Test out what kind of media works, whatever pressures kind of produce the best result. That way when you get there, you have a better expectation of what you can get done for this customer than starting from ground zero.
And all of our Dustless Blasting business owners have access to the private Facebook group. If you are doing a project that you've never done before, chances are someone in that group has done it.
Yeah, for sure.
So get plugged into that group, ask them, hey, has anyone blasted X, Y, and Z? And everyone is always quick to chime in and say, hey, I've done that before. This is what worked well for me, and someone else might come up with something different. So it's just really good to be engaged in that group and active and share projects there and advice. So thank you, Charles, for that information. I'm sure that's going to be super helpful. And, you know, Charles mentioned the warping of cars, that's something that he's seen. And I feel like the pressure and the media go hand in hand with that. But is there anything else you'd like to add for that?
I think angle is definitely key, because no matter what kind of substrate or surface you're dealing with, if you're dealing with high pressures at close ranges, anything can happen. So really, angle is key. And like you said, pressure and media also plays a factor.
Exactly. And the next thing that Charles mentioned that I really want to dive into is maintenance. He said maintenance is key. Do it, live it, document it. And that's why we have an entire playlist and an entire academy on dustlessblasting.com for maintenance. Can we talk about why that is so important, why we harp on it so much?
Well, we want to make sure that we're supporting our contractors so they know what they need to do when it comes time to do a little bit of maintenance. We have just your regular maintenance, changing certain oil filters, air separating filters. We want to make sure you know how to do all of that so you don't have to take your machine to a service provider. You can do it all at home. We have all the parts in our online store, but also we just want to make sure that you know what you're changing and what you're doing. So all of our videos walk you through every step of the way.
And then what happens if you don't do your maintenance?
Expensive things can break, and you never really want that. So it's better to change a $50 part than replace a $25,000, $40,000 machine. So,
and we never want someone to be out on a job and then something happened to their machine because they hadn't been doing the required maintenance. You know, this is an expensive machine. It's like your car. You have to take care of it. You can't just never get your oil changed and your tires rotated unless you have a Tesla, I guess. But like, this is an expensive machine that you have to take care of, so maintenance is key. So make sure you guys check that out on our YouTube channel and our academy if you need how-to videos for maintenance, or you're just interested in finding out what maintenance is really involved with owning a dustless blasting machine. You'll be able to find all that information out there. But moving right along, sticking with Charles here, I did ask him what jobs he was most proud of. And so here's what he had to say. He said, we did an old 2-story home. It was painted ugly with years of old paint, and the owner just wanted to start over and prep so he could repaint the home. Well, when we got to blasting, we found it was not just old wood siding rather than Spanish cedar. I stopped, amazed how beautiful the area was. The owner walked up after noticing that we had stopped and we were talking, and he asked, hey, what's up? I said, do you see your house? He said, what about it? I explained what it was and told him he just can't repaint this beautiful home. And in the end, he agreed and sealed it. And to this day, that home is on my Google business page, front and center. I love that. And I feel like that happens a lot. I was talking to another business owner last week, and he said that some of his most favorite projects aren't necessarily the biggest and the ones that pay the most, but the ones that are simple, more residential, and where the customer is just so pleased at the end. And I think that was really neat.
And that reminds me of another one that I saw where a contractor went out to blast a metal statue that was a fountain. And then lo and behold, it was a full bronze water fountain. So little things like that are really exciting on the job and really can make the job really rewarding. So yeah.
Yeah, no day is the same, right? Like, I mean, you never know what you're going to encounter. And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes not so much. But I think here it was a really fun thing where he got to see something that he didn't expect.
Yeah.
So moving right along, I also asked Charles if there were any products that he keeps with him at all times. If so, what are they? And so this is just like day-to-day going out on a job, not necessarily what he keeps stocked, but what he just takes with him. He said collision wrap, duct tape, extra sandbags, power broom, plastic, and WD-40 for the pot cap. I know everyone kind of has different things that they bring with them. Is there anything else that you've seen other blasters take out with them that you thought were super helpful and maybe could add to this list?
I mean, really, it's, I think the biggest one is nozzles. Make sure you bring an assortment of different nozzles with you, because you might just have your SLV nozzle, but what if you encounter a really tough coating? You're gonna wanna have that XL Performance nozzle or maybe if there's a tight spot, you want to have that ST nozzle with you. But again, Charles hit it right on the head. You want to have your containment with you at all times. So that's collision wrap, that's the plastic wrap with the tape, or just other plastic wrap to contain other items, but also more barriers with you, maybe some plywood, some clamps to hold it in place. So small things like that, but also another big one, blasting hose. You might be out on a job and that blasting hose meets its lifespan and pops a little hole. You want to make sure you have that extra blast hose to replace it with. And then little odds and ends like screws and small tools so you can make sure you can fix those blast hoses. But there's a lot of stuff that you can take with you. You mentioned WD-40. I mean, there's metal parts on the machines. They can get a little sticky, so WD-40 is a good one. But there's such a range of things you can take with you, but I think you hit it right on the head with what he's bringing with him to the job.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the blast hose, I've heard stories of people getting to the job and they thought they were going to be able to maneuver their machine somewhere, and then an extra crew from, you know, a different company showed up and was blocking the area, and so they ended up needing an extra blast hose, you know, to make it longer because they weren't able to park where they needed to. Yeah. And so I think that's definitely a big one to consider, having extra blast hoses as well.
That's a good one.
The last thing we have from Charles is I asked him what his favorite part is about owning a dustless blasting business. And he said, seeing the job and taking those final pictures, knowing your customer is so happy we came out and completed the project. It's the look on their face. And that is so awesome. I feel like this job can be so rewarding when you go out there and complete a project for someone else and they're just so thrilled that you were the one to do it because of the results.
Yeah, and with this service, there still is not a lot of people that know about this service. So when they see it firsthand, you get to see the look. You get to see the blown away, super ecstatic, super happy with the job. That's really what it's all about, being a contractor sometimes. It's just the end result. So I think he's right on it with that one.
And I think also it's super funny, like, or even more rewarding when you come and you rescue someone, like someone's been power washing their pool or power washing their driveway for 2 weeks, and then you come in and finish it in like an hour or two. Yeah. I think that is like, you know, almost a pat on your back type moment. Like, I saved the day. This poor guy's been out here working away for so long. And so we love to hear stories like that. And so that's actually all that we have from Charles. Charles, we appreciate you so much sending in your favorite jobs, your feedback, your advice, and especially the jobs that were most rewarding for you. We truly do love to hear that, and we wish you all the best.
Yes, and if there's any other contractors out there, go ahead and post down in the comment section below what's been your favorite job, because we'd love to hear about that.
And I think that's all we have for today. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks for the next episode. We are sitting down with Mark from Kentucky Blue Blast, and so that is going to be a blast. You won't want to miss it. And in the meantime, visit dustlessblasting.com if you want to learn more about our machines or how to start a business with them.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys later.